Thank you.
Member for Cowichan Valley.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And through you to the Minister. I received a letter from a constituent about special needs cuts in our region, and I just wanted to briefly read a small part of it. She starts, these special needs cuts cannot continue. Yes, my son's service was reinstated, but it was another battle that caused me huge anxiety. I was informed that there are 200 kids on the wait list for services. I was also told that because my son gets services, another kid will not. Another kid will not. That is not fair. I feel very strongly that having services in place for my son over the years has allowed him to develop into an amazing young man who is functioning at a much better level than he would have without the services. The services that allowed him to be the best he can be. I want other children in the Cowichan Valley to have the same opportunity. If I could just pause there and say I have a grandson myself, Gabriel, that has autism, and we very much appreciate that he had the services when he needed them, speech therapy, variety of therapy when he was 6. He's now 13 and doing much better. He didn't speak at all at one time. He's improved dramatically, and all of that was because there was an intervention done at a time that was needed and necessary. Carrying on with the letter, I also want the ministry to start dealing with families more appropriately. There is a huge amount of institutional problems. Families do not need to be told services are being taken from them to give to someone else who needs it more. In general, many of us feel we're in survival mode. We're exhausted from lack of sleep, working full-time, and then having to deal with the challenging behaviors at home, not only from our children that has a disability, but also from our neurotypical children because they feel they're not heard or treated differently, and so on. We do not have the energy to fight the ministry, and our children do not have voice so things we feel get swept under the mat and ignored. Families that need support should not have to go on wait lists for services. Our children cannot wait for these services. Service providers struggle because they are trying to meet our needs, but they are ethically being challenged because they have to decide who needs the service more, yet they worry constantly about those that do not get the services. Please help us. Services in the Cowichan Valley need to be expanding as our population of special needs children and young adults is now growing. So my question to the minister is, will the minister and this government make special needs services a priority, or will they continue to cut services to these vulnerable children at a time when they need the services the most? And what does this ministry's actions mean to their words about putting families first?
Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and certainly to start off, I would just say personally to the member that I'm very glad that your grandson received services that he needed when he needed them, and hope that he's continuing to do well. I certainly also would want to express my sentiments to the family that has of your constituent, your family, or their family. I do understand that there are significant challenges and stresses, additional challenges and stresses to being a parent of a child with special needs, and the demands that puts on the family, not only emotional and physical, but financial, and certainly the additional stress of wanting to provide everything that is necessary for your child. I can't specifically answer the member's question, Honourable Chair, because I'm not aware of the individual nor the case specifically that they're referring to. But what I can say on a broader perspective is that there haven't been any cuts to services. As we've been discussing in the estimates, the contracts that we have with various service providers around the province have been maintained for these foundational programs for children with special needs. That said, certainly some services are time limited depending on the type of service that is required for a child, and the discontinuation of a service is not, depending on the circumstance, may not be a cut of a service, but it may be that service, for example, a speech therapy or a physiotherapy or an occupational therapy, for example, was prescribed for a period of time to reach a certain goal, and when that goal has been achieved, it may be determined that is not a required therapy on an ongoing basis. There are also other services, certainly in some areas of the province. Can't speak specifically at this point to the Cowichan Valley, but in certain parts of the province where certain therapies are, we are challenged to have families access them because we don't necessarily have the services available in those areas. The specialists are not there in some areas, and some areas are challenged to recruit specific providers of service. That said, there will always be demand for service, and I certainly reiterate comments I made earlier today that we do very much want to provide the best services we can and ensure that kids get what they need. But there will always be more demand for service than we are able to provide. And I'm very pleased that this ministry has been able to maintain its budgets over time, even through incredibly challenging fiscal times. And as it states in my mandate letter, we are required to manage and deliver on our ministry goals, the same as all the other ministries, and one of those is to do that within a balanced budget.